This is Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.
Good Sunday morning. You are listening to Access Houston. I'm your host, KG Smooth, welcoming two first-timers to the program, even though we are very familiar with Theater Under the Stars, which is a Houston-based nonprofit institution dedicated to enriching the lives through experience, quality musical theater, and positively impacting lives beyond the stage through innovative education and community outreach initiatives. And from TUTS, as they're known of, Theater Under the Stars, Dan, your last name just caught me. Is it
Knechtges, like connect us?
Oh, Knechtges.
Knechtges.
Yeah, Knechtges.
Yeah, it's easy.
Dan Knechtges, who is the artistic director. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
And also, we have the executive director of TUTS, the lovely Hillary Hart.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name, you sound like a star.
I've got
or
alliteration
an
on my side.
Yeah. And incredible penmanship, guys. She filled out the one sheeter like she can have her own font, like seriously. But welcome to the program. Houston has a lot of people that move here weekly, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are not familiar with Theater Under the Stars. So tell us about the history of TUTS and everything that you do for the community.
Theater Under the Stars started 50 years ago.
50.
I know, in 1968, and it was a dream of this guy named Frank Young, who put on a show called Bells Are Ringing in 1968 at Miller Outdoor Theater, hence the name Theater Under the Stars.
Got it.
And since then, it has grown into this well-respected theater across the country, and in fact, globally, a lot of shows have started historically here. Beauty and the Beast premiered here 25 years ago.
Wow.
And it's just been a great institution here in Houston, serving a ton of people. We also have two schools that were started very close to when Theater Under the Stars started. One is called the Humphrey School of Musical Theater, and it's a school where kids come and they learn about musical theater, and then they also train. There's an academy section of the school that our kids are then trained, and we give opportunities that they can be cast in the main stage show, so they get to work with Broadway professionals. And then we also have another school called the River Center for Performing Arts. And it is a school for students with disabilities of varying kinds, and they get to express themselves through musical theater. And it's really a singular kind of school. There are no other schools like this.
Get out of here. Yeah. I mean, this is, I'm feeling all tingly inside. Like, wow, that's amazing.
It's
like,
amazing.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're really proud of that.
Indeed. And with becoming the executive director, Hillary, how did you get involved, and how did that position come about for you?
Well, I've been here for about a year and a half now. Dan's been here for about 10 months, so he hasn't quite hit. So we're both relatively new.
And she's a native Texan.
I am. I'm happy to be home. Though not native Houstonian, I'm learning quickly.
Yeah.
But no, before this, I was the general manager at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And so I came here, and I have to say, a little bit to piggyback on a little bit of what Dan was saying. One of the tipping points when I was recruited to come here were the schools and the immense amount of community engagement that we participate in each and every year. And that ranges from everything from classes on site in our schools, on our campus, which we're located at. Our primary residence is at the Hobby Center for the Performing Arts downtown. But we also perform at Miller Outdoor Theater. Our River Center is actually out on West Gray in a facility. But we also have community engagement. So we actually send our teachers out into the community. We're represented across 16 school districts in 7 counties. And we probably reach, just from a student population, more than 17,000 children a year.
Oh, wow.
And that doesn't even include our in-hospital residencies, where we go into the various hospitals and do workshops and presentations and productions and performances for people. So we actually, a lot of people, they identify us with either Miller performances, the free, which are free to the public every year, just like I think most of the people that perform out there. But it's either Miller or Hobby Center. But a lot of people don't understand that actually our biggest impact in the city of Houston and in the community is actually out in the community through education and community engagement. So we are everywhere. And I have to say those programs are what brought me to Theater Under the Stars, in that, I enjoy my job very much, but I think my favorite part of my job is watching these kids who ordinarily would not have an opportunity or access to the arts. These kids who, if they happen to be disabled or not, sometimes you just have children who have trouble expressing themselves, or they don't know that there is an avenue through which they can productively express themselves.
Get that out.
So we work and partner with writers in the schools. We partner with the Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation. I mean, we actually take our work, and it's beyond just, I think, stage training. I mean, what we really do is it's great if we can train the next Kristen Chenoweth. I mean, who doesn't want that, right?
Right.
But that's not why we do what we do. We're trying to create the next Houstonian, the next community member. We know that by just sheer having had the opportunity to just engage, even if it's just for a couple of hours sitting in the dark with 1,200 or 2,600 strangers, you have this communal experience. And we know that if and studies actually we're starting to be able to quantify that. But anyway, studies show that, you become a better person and a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what we're interested in. We're interested in helping people to become better versions of themselves.
And there are all these studies out that by learning how to perform on stage and being part of theater arts, you have much more empathy for other human beings, basically, because you become a character that is unlike yourself, and you begin to understand a different point of view. And that, I think, is sorely missing today.
And it drills down into even crazier, more scientific stuff, where they've done EKG studies where people sitting in an audience watching the same show, they've discovered that in more instances than not, people's heartbeats and their rhythms actually sync up.
Shut up.
I know, right? Yeah. It's really cool. So, I mean, the arts, I know it seems like rhetoric, but it actually is true. We're suddenly starting to be able to quantify what is a qualitative experience. And it's amazing. It's amazing to finally say, no, really, we weren't kidding.
Right. No, it's not rhetoric. I think that it is very important because throughout the years, well, let me get to it. You're listening to Access Houston. We're talking to the great people at TUTS, Theater Under the Stars, Hillary Hart, who's the executive director, and Dan Knechtges, who is the artistic director. But I remember growing up in the 90s and seeing the commercials, Save the Music. VH1 had a program called Save the Music because in our schools, in public schools, they were cutting the music programs, the theater programs, all of that. And even till this day, up until now, I mean, even school districts who are doing well that still have to make cuts, the arts are the first thing to go. Yep. And so God bless you all that you all still are providing an outlet for these kids to express themselves because it is being taken away. I mean, 2 schools, like that within itself is amazing. And to know that you are teaching them, it's hands-on, it's at the theater, like everything is totally legit. They can find themselves, express themselves, not feel any type of way because they're with a group of people who think like them and want to create like them. So this is very important because and to back it up, you got the scientific findings and the scientific studies of the greatness of what the arts do. You know?
Yeah.
So no, it's not rhetoric. I love it. I mean, I'm one of those kids that came from that. I couldn't play sports growing up. Because I have a heart condition. I had open heart surgery when I was 5, and so I could not do anything really. And so I got frustrated, and I turned to music. I turned to the arts, and so I'm one of those creative kids as well. And you all have a great production that kicks off July 10th at the Miller Outdoor Theater. TUTS presents All Shook Up.
Yeah.
Tell us about All Shook Up.
All Shook Up is a musical that uses all of Elvis Presley tunes.
Okay, so that's what I had in my head. I'm in love, I'm all shook up.
Yeah. And then and Jailhouse Rock, Teddy Bear, all the way up through, the late 60s, early 70s, some of those tunes as well. But it's loosely set to, get this, Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, but it's set in a Midwestern town.
Okay.
That it's basically a town that has no color in terms of like Pleasantville.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And that when Elvis Presley comes in, it's suddenly everybody has life. And there is a very conservative mayoress who doesn't like that this is happening. And her son is falling in love with an African-American girl, and that is a no-no.
Of course.
And so the musical, by the end, everything gets righted, and she learns the error of her ways. And it's really fun. It's highly energetic, tons of dancing, really amazing singing, a very diverse cast.
Family friendly.
And it's family friendly, and it's free. That's
the most important part.
That's my favorite price.
It is free. Yes,
that's my favorite price.
I'm with you, Dan. Free 99.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
there.
Exactly.
Yes, indeed. So check that out. It's running July 10th through the 15th. All shook up. That sounds really good. In this sidebar, because since we're talking about Elvis Presley and the play, I'm flipping through one afternoon. HBO has this incredible documentary on Elvis Presley, and I never knew the depth of his soul and how his music basically was black folks' music.
Yeah.
I mean, he loved the black culture and the music and the arts.
And the interesting,
I never knew any of that. It was
interesting thing about our season is we just produced Memphis this past February, which was about the quote unquote birth of rock and roll, where on Memphis on Beale Street you have a church next to a juke joint, next to a bar. And you would get out of church and go to the juke joint, or get out of the juke joint and go to the church. And so it was all mixing black folks and white folks. And Elvis Presley used that music to, he was attracted to that music because how could you not be? And it was a Southern expression of all of these different types of music. So to me, it's exciting because it's American in a way that can only be American, and the history of everything that happened to the people creating that music. And some people say Elvis Presley stole it, which probably he did at some point, but I think all art does quote unquote borrow or steal,
or you're inspired by something. Like inspiration comes from somewhere. And two, I think now there's nothing new under the sun.
Yes.
And three, when it comes to music, it's only 12 notes. I mean, it's only 12 notes.
Right. Yeah.
It's true.
They said to Leonard Bernstein, the great Leonard Bernstein, they said, how do you come up with what you write? He goes, I don't, I steal.
Okay.
But when you take it and you interpret it, that's the new.
That's the new. Yeah.
And
you're
you
right.
add the one thing that wasn't there before.
You're right. You're right, Dan. Hey, listen. For more information on Theater Under the Stars, you can log on to TUTS.com. That's TUTS.com. All Shook Up runs July 10th through the 15th, and they can get all of the information about the schools and everything at TUTS.com.
Absolutely.
What else should the people know about Theater Under the Stars?
So we're on the cusp of celebrating our 50th anniversary.
I know you're going to do
season.
something big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's actually the entire season is huge, as it rightfully should be.
Yeah.
So we are intent on starting in September. We will, and I'll let Dan talk about all of the shows, but we will be launching our 50th anniversary in September back at the Hobby Center with an amazing, amazing production. And then the celebrations will continue all year long as we celebrate not only the legacy of our organization, but also the next 50 years, and starting to plant the seeds now of what the next 50 years of our organization is going to look like. And looking at classic musicals through a new lens, broadening that lens so that we're maintaining relevancy and resonance within the times today. You know, there's a reason why. I mean, we laugh a little bit about Shakespeare and about, you know, kind of reinventing the wheel, but there are certain stories and certain playwrights and certain composers that their music, their books, their plays are enduring for a reason, because it resonates with like the human experience, the core of who we are as human beings. Yeah. And so being able, you know, we're never going to abandon that. We hope to be able to blend it well with new and contemporary work and introducing new voices into the American canon as we move forward. But there is something, I think, palpably important about revisiting those classics, but then asking the question, who gets to tell those stories now? You know, who gets to tell the story of South Pacific
and interpret the stories?
And interpret the
talking
story,
about.
right? Yeah. So it might have been. I mean, let's just say what it is. It might have been written by a 65-year-old white man, you know, in 1950.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that the story isn't as relevant to, you know, someone in 2018, regardless of what your, you know, socioeconomic or cultural background happens to be. So that's I think what we're moving towards in terms of, you know, inclusion and making sure that we are effectively serving the community that we live in, because otherwise, you know, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 community service organization, and our job is to serve.
Yeah, and you're doing it. I mean, keeping the arts alive. I just love you guys' energy. Like, I feel your passion. Like, I'm over here, you know, you see me, you know, my eyes are sweating because I feel your passion.
You're leaking.
So yeah, I am leaking. Drip, drip. So log on to TUTS.com. Go ahead, Dan.
Our 50th anniversary season is going to launch off with Oklahoma, which is celebrating its 75th anniversary, but it's a first-time ever collaboration in Houston between Theater Under the Stars and Houston Ballet. So we're going to have...
That's going to be a big deal.
We're going to have 20 of our Broadway professionals and local professionals with 20 of the ballet corps, and then we are going to have 10 of our students along with 10 of the ballet students.
Oh, that's
so
insane.
It's going to be a huge production, but I say go big or go home.
Well, everything is bigger in Texas. You all have shown me that.
I know, right?
And Texas
so then
is not disappointed.
Our next show in October is one that is very near and dear to my heart because it's one of my favorites. It's The Wiz.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we have an incredible team that's coming in to direct and choreograph and music direct. And then in December, we present 25 years to the date of when we presented Beauty and the Beast for our holiday show. In February, I'm directing Mamma Mia.
Wow.
Which will be like a rock concert.
Okay.
So you can...
You should have seen the look in his eyes when he said that. He really meant that.
I did.
Yeah.
It's going to be one big party.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm getting Hillary into a silver jumpsuit, so from the 70s, and I will too. Exactly. We're doing what I call the shake and bake dance step. But, and then a TUTS premiere, which is what I call a new classic, is Ragtime, which will be in April of next year. And then we just announced our 6th show, and our sort of tagline here is we didn't know what classic show that was integral to TUTS 50 years that we should do, that should be the capstone.
There's so many.
There are so many. So we decided to do them all.
Oh.
We're doing a musical anthology called Jerome Robbins Broadway that includes sections from On the Town, West Side Story, King and I, Gypsy, Peter Pan, we're going to fly Peter Pan, and Fiddler on the Roof. And it's celebrating Jerome Robbins was the musical theater's greatest director and choreographer, and he created 40, maybe not 40, but a lot of the classic musicals we all know. And this anthology won Best Musical in 1989. And there are only, it's only been produced outside of Broadway by one other theater, and then us, because it is so mammoth in the way that you have to produce it, that this is a very unique experience for our audience, that they'll be able to see this.
Well, I mean, you've taken Go Big or Go Home quite literally here, Dan.
It's the 50th.
That is
It only happens
massive. That's true. Well, eat your Wheaties. Good luck, because you're going to need it to celebrate this 50th with all of that you just named.
Or
wow.
drink your coffee.
Or drink your coffee. That
Get
is
some
going to be quite. Wow. Well, congratulations on this coming up holiday season in the 50th. For more information on everything about Theater Under the Stars, just log on to TUTS.com. All Shook Up is running July 10th through the 15th, but log on to the website. You can see all of the work that they do in the community, find out about get more information on the Humphrey School and the River Center and all of that. So, Hillary, Dan, thank you for coming on the program. This was great.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to Access Houston.
We'll be back with more Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.